Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this hearing of the Budget and Finance Committee for Monday, September 12th, 2016. I'm Paul Krikorian, Chair of the committee. I'm joined by my colleagues, Mr. Bonin, Mr. Blumenfield, and for the first time, I'm very delighted to be able to welcome Ms. Martinez to our ranks. Welcome. We're glad. Well, that comes later. We have to make an appropriation for that, actually. So we're glad to have you here with us, Ms. Martinez. We'll be taking public comment. Actually, we'll be taking public comment now. Are there any public comment, general public comment cards?
No, sir, there are not.
Well, in that case, we'll close general public comment. Do we have any comment cards on items on any of the items?
No, sir, no comment cards.
All right, then comment on our closed session items is closed. Members, I'd like to submit items 2, 4, and 5 for consent approval, if that meets with your approval, unless there's objections or questions. No. Seeing none, those items are approved on consent. And public comment is closed on those matters, too. That brings us...
excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
For the record, I believe the Office of Finance would like to receive and file item number 4.
Oh, thank you. We previously approved that item, so yes, we'll receive and file that. And on item 5, approve the Office of Finance's recommendation, and on item 2, approve the recommendations of the CAO's report. That brings us then to our closed session item number 1. Let's go ahead and do that now, and then we'll come back for item number 3.
Doesn't anyone ever use it once a year?
All right, we are back in open session, and we are ready to take up item number 3.
Item number 3 is a City Administrative Officer report relative to authorization to execute the Sixth Amendment to contract with Raytheon Company for an additional amount of $12 million for Phase 4 of the Los Angeles Police Department's digital in-car video system in Operations Valley Bureau.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, any cards on number 3?
No, sir, there are no
Comment
cards.
on this matter is closed. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Felicia Orozco with the Office of the CAO. The Police Department requests authority to execute a Sixth Amendment to the contract with Raytheon Company to implement Phase 4 of the digital in-car video system in Operations Valley Bureau for an additional amount of $12 million, increasing the total value of the contract to $27.87 million. The Police Department estimates that implementation of Phase 4 will begin immediately upon execution of the proposed amendment and be completed in approximately 8 to 10 months. Phase 4 will include the installation of cameras in 477 patrol vehicles in the Valley Bureau. This office recommends the reapproval of the project Phase 4 and the reappropriation of $5.17 million from the Reserve Fund and transfer of $6.83 million from the Capital Finance Administration Fund, for a total of $12 million to be reappropriated to the Police Department's contractual services account for the cost of Phase 4 of the digital in-car video system. In addition, it is recommended that a reappropriation of $2.58 million from the Reserve Fund to the Capital Finance Administration Fund be approved to fund debt service related to the now completed Phase 3. If you have any questions, department staff is here, as well as our debt management group. Thanks.
Yeah, and sorry, this is very basic, and I should already know the answer to this, so forgive me, but why are we structuring this as a draw on the reserve fund? Why this has been in the works for some time. Why was this not included in the department's budget?
It was included in the budget, but the prior years, like 2014, 15, 15, 16, was reverted back to the reserve fund. So it's just being reappropriated.
Good afternoon. This is Hato from the CEO office. So Phase 4 was approved in the 15-16 budget for MICLA authority, MICLA funding.
Okay.
However, Phase 4 is now ready to move forward. So in 15-16, we had budgeted debt service in Cap Finance. That's Fund 100, Department 53.
For Phase 4?
For Phase 4 and Phase 3 to pay off the debt
Okay.
that we anticipated, because Phase 4 was supposed to be completed in 15-16.
Okay.
But because Phase 4 didn't move forward in 15-16, we did not use that cash to pay debt service. So we are coming back now to say, we have the cash. It got reverted because
Well, you don't have
we
it
don't have
anymore.
any debt service.
Well, once it gets reverted, you don't have it anymore.
So
So
it-
why didn't you include that in the department's budget then for 16-17, I guess is what I'm asking.
At that time, we weren't aware of exactly the timing of Phase 4. So upon controller's advice, it got reverted, and we plan to reappropriate it at this time.
Okay. Well, in the future, I mean, it makes sense because it was already designated for this purpose.
Yes.
Certainly, I'm eager to get started in the valley. But in the future, if there's going to be a reversion like that, I would think that one of two things: either we revert it in a way, and Mr. Hale's probably going to kick me under the table, but create some sort of a fund to segregate it, whether the UB or otherwise, or better, once you know that you're going to move forward with Phase 4 in the coming budget year, I'm sure this wasn't decided last week, budget for it in the 16-17 budget so that we know going in, so that we can figure out how to address this without dipping into the reserve, because there's a strong resistance in this committee generally to dip into reserve funds, particularly to support something that could have been anticipated and budgeted for. That being said, we are where we are, and it's a very important program, I think, and especially since this phase is going to move the program into the valley, I think I'm certainly going to be supportive of it. One question substantively. This is assuming installation of 477 patrol vehicles in the valley, right?
Yes.
How many patrol vehicles are there in the valley?
Right now, it's 477.
So
So
this-
that should cover everything that we need in the valley. It will also cover going back to South Bureau and then retrofitting South Bureau's system to the new modern system that we currently have now. So the money should cover both that. And then South Bureau will have the newer version that we have in Central West and then Valley Bureau.
Okay. And I hesitate to dive into this because it's a Pandora's box, but are any of those upgrades that are going to be in South are they impacted in any way by the anticipated body cam infrastructure needs? Interfacing those two things, are those upgrades going to be tied to that as well?
Yeah, and absolutely, and that's why we're going back, because the older system had older technology. Now we'll be able to combine that system in, and it'll be part of evidence.com, and it'll be on the same system level as what we currently have in Central and West Bureau, and then what we're currently putting into South Bureau. So we'll be able to leverage the technology. So it should be a quick turnaround when we go back to South Bureau, and then as they upload going into the storage facility, it should be the same place.
Okay, and the other three bureaus will already be there without upgrade?
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
Yeah, I had,
Ms.
you just
Martinez?
answered my question about the, our body camera program. So my next question is there any other phase left after this is completed? This is it?
Yes, this will be the last phase for the in-car digital.
That's it?
Mr. Blumenfield?
I want to echo what you said about trying to be more transparent about the funding. I think that's important for the work that we do here. Also want to put in a pitch that as we move to body cams, that the Valley not always be the last in
Yeah.
line.
The Valley wasn't, Mission was.
Yeah, and the way we did, and the way we're going to do, and I apologize, I'm Commander Regina Scott, the Assistant Commanding Officer for Information of Technology Bureau. And so the way we are almost have to do the body-worn camera is based on the facility. So we have them in like construction 1, construction 2, and construction. So the newer buildings will go first just because it's just easier for us to, it's less construction and less remodeling and less demo, and then the older buildings will be last. So you'll have some in the Valley, and you'll have some in the, in all different bureaus that will go, just like Mission was one of the first model because they had a new building.
And then have we started to see the analytics? I mean, you know, the hope in all of this stuff is that not only is it good because of it, you know, removing the he said, she said, and all the positive things that come along with the constituent interaction, but the hope is that ultimately it's going to save us money as well on our liability in cases. Is there any analytics so far that we're now this far down on the program that will help or hinder, that illustrate how the dash cams are impacting our liabilities and our lawsuits?
And I don't have that information for you, and I can get it for you. And when this goes to council, I can answer that there, or I can do it offline in your office. So I don't have it, but I can just tell you anecdotal. Just as some of our complaints have went down, I can tell you a lot of the.
Excuse me, we're in a closed session.
No, we're not. No. No.
Never mind. Sorry, I thought we were still in closed. Okay, thank you. I would like to see that information. Because I'm a big believer in it, and I've heard the anecdotes are great on it, but I'd love to start seeing the data about it, because I think that'll also help. Not that the funding for this aspect is in question, because this is the last piece, and it's not to justify that, but for the future as we go forward, I think it's great information to have and to get out there. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Bonner?
As the only member of the committee who doesn't represent the Valley, I was going to ask about.
There's all four members.
I was gonna-
I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that. Finally, you're
I have a big burden to carry. I was going to ask about the rest of the city, but you answered it in the other question, so thank you.
All right.
There's another part?
You
All
have
right.
to drive to it every day.
If there's no objections, it'll be the action of the committee to approve the CAO's recommendation. Yeah, comment's already been closed, so. If there's no other objection, I'm sorry, you're disrupting the meeting. If you open your mouth again, you're going to be asked to leave. Mr. Herman is disrupting the meeting. Could you please ask him to leave?
Why didn't you accept my card?
We're trying to conduct a meeting. You need to leave.
You should accept public comment. Jack,
He's continuing to disrupt the meeting.
that's not disruptive. You're denying public comment.
You don't have a
Jack,
conversation with me. You sit in a chair and you comment when it's time to comment. Out of my meeting.
Goodbye, Mr. Herman.
All right, without objection, it'll be the action of the committee to approve the CAO's recommendations. And if there's nothing else on our agenda, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Great.